It is an iconic scene in many cinematic thrillers. The main character, when faced with a choice, is conflicted. One could say that they are at war with themselves. The decision may be clear-cut, right and wrong, or it could be more of a gray area decision. The main character may have personal tendencies that lead them to consider the wrong choice. They may be in a situation where both choices seem good even though they are not. You know the scene I'm talking about. The one that comes to my mind is from Tangled. Yes, the Disney movie is one of my favorites. In it, young Rapunzel has just escaped from her mom's castle of solitude. She knows it was wrong of her mom to keep her captured in that castle, but she is torn because she knows if her mom finds out she escaped, it will destroy her. We see a montage of emotions ranging from elation to be free to utter despair for escaping. Great movies capture real human emotions. That is why this type of scene is so prevalent. We have all faced decisions, choices, or paths that have left us feeling conflicted within ourselves. We have all had, as James puts it, cravings that are at war within us. These cravings can lead us to do unspeakable things. James outlines some pretty extreme cases such as murder or stealing. But what cravings is James speaking about specifically? Well, he is talking about two friendships each of us has. More than that, James is calling each of us to DTR, or define the relationship. We must define whether we are friends with the world or if we are friends with God. Now, we all know friends help define us. If one of our friends is really into football, then when we are with them, we may find ourselves following football more closely. So if we are better friends with the world than we are with God, then we will be more defined by the world or vice versa. The question is, what are these two choices in friend really into? The world, especially Texas, is really into football. That's a relatively harmless thing to be into, but the world is also into a lot of other more harmful things. Let's look at a few things the world says. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Do whatever it takes to get to the top. All's fair in love and war. Put yourself first, and everything else will fall into place. You are the center of your universe. Beauty equals power, and power is everything. And one of my personal favorites, mo money, mo money. The world is really into money, power, and success, which is measured by the first two. Obviously, the world is big and complex. It is also into a lot of good things, such as family, freedom, happiness, and so much more. However, the world is really good at keeping God out of these good things. That's not so good. God says some pretty different things. Let's look at a few of those. The first shall become last, and the last shall become first. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love your enemy. Judge not, lest you be judged. Give generously, and much shall be given. These are just a few of many, many good and honest things God has to say. God is a friend that lifts up ourselves as well as all those around us. The world is a friend who would have us lift ourselves at the expense of others. God is a friend that will give completely if we ask and seek with the best intentions. God is not only for you or me or for the Pope. God is for us all, everybody, all creation. That is very good. Now, James seems pretty set on us being friends only with God, thus ending this internal conflict about who will be a better friend with, God or the world. A pretty set is actually an understatement of James's passion on this subject. He addresses his readers as adulterers. Now, his point is this: in the metaphorical marriage between people and God, people have been unfaithful. They have chosen to be friends with the world time after time. They have chosen to be shaped by the wills and the woes of the world, to feel as the world does and go as the world does. Money, power, and success measured by the previous two have been tempting enough that people have been willing to set aside God, even in the good of life, in order to get them. James is worked up. James is passionate. James is mad. James is mad because his Greek-influenced Jewish world understood friend very differently than we do today. Today, when I say friend, any number of concepts or types of friends could come into your mind. You could think of best friends, Facebook friends, work friends, associates, good friends, old friends, new friends, online friends, friends of friends. The list goes on and on. We have a category of friend for everything. We even have something called the friend zone. Have you heard of this? If you don't know, the friend zone is not a place, but a way of thinking about somebody. If someone likes another romantically, but they are friends first, then they may be in the friend zone. Them dating could jeopardize their friendship, thus leading the two to stray from dating. This multi-category approach to friends is very different than James would have thought of friends. He would have thought of a friend as one that we shared everything with, in total unity, both spiritually and physically. Since we have so many categories for friends, it may be helpful to assign a specific title for James's way of thinking. Let's go with true friends. A true friend is someone you go to with everything. She is the one you talk to when things are very bad. She is also the one you can't wait to talk to in order to share happy or exciting information. A true friend is one you always are happy to be in the presence of, and you seek that as often as you can. A true friend doesn't have to agree with you on everything, but he does accept you and love you no matter what. We are lucky if we have even one true friend. A true friendship requires a lot, and I mean a lot of work and attention. Sharing everything with someone else is beyond difficult. It requires a lot of vulnerability and trust. James sees, as I think we can, that followers of Christ often have a true friendship with the world. They stick with the world through thick and thin. They are willing to hear what the world has to say about everything in their lives. They are defined by their true friendship with the world. In doing this, they must leave God behind, since the world leaves God out of things so very often. Thus James's anger. He knows, as I think we do, that a follower of Christ should first have a true friendship with God. However, James, because of his understanding of what a friend is, thinks that being a friend with the world is not an option at all. I think we should hesitate at this. True, we should not have a true friendship with the world, lest we set aside God. However, we cannot separate ourselves from the world. This type of seclusion is unhealthy. How are we, if we are secluded, supposed to be a movement for wholeness in a fragmented world? How are we, if we are secluded, supposed to live our faith and share our faith as we go to work, school, and community events? How are we, if we are secluded, supposed to be anything but a group of extremists? We must have a relationship with the world. However, it should be more like a Facebook friendship or a friendship with a neighbor. This is where that multi-category approach really helps out. In these types of friendships, we can understand the other. We can interact with them in small doses so that we can influence each other. However, we are not defined by our relationship with them. Just because we like a friend's Facebook status or take a pie to a new neighbor does not mean they affect who we are. Nor does it mean we have to put aside God. In fact, we can rely on our true friendship with God and the defining effect it has on our lives and our interactions with the world. We can do our work to set out our best side by posting uplifting statuses or taking care of our yard. We do this as a church. Our Concerts in the Courtyard series is an example of this. We are a positive influence on our neighbor friend, the world, through these uplifting concerts. We must be a true friend with God and a neighbor or Facebook friend with the world in order to be the best Christ follower we can be. Now, in our scripture for today, we included a bit on speaking evil or slandering others. This is gossip, malicious statements about a person, or speaking ill of another. This was included because, as one commentator says, speech illustrates our decision between true friendship with the world and true friendship with God. Speaking ill of another, gossiping, or slanderous speech has one aim: to put another down in order to elevate ourselves. It is a power game. It is a power game the world says is okay. After all, do whatever it takes to get to the top. All's fair in love and war, and it's a dog-eat-dog world. Gossip is acceptable, a part of life, or that's what the world would have us think. Sharing information about others in an interest to help them or inform others that need to know is fine. Prayer concerns are an example of this. However, when even these can be taken into the realm of gossip, if Hezekiah comes to me with a prayer concern he would like the prayer group to pray for, but he does not share specifics, that is okay. I do not need to pry or ask questions about specifics. After all, God knows the specifics. The prayer group does not need to. They can lift Hezekiah up in prayer, then leave God to do God's work. That is another thing about gossip or slander. When we gossip or slander another, we are judging them. That's pretty straightforward. We say in our gossip or slander that what they may or may not have done is bad, immoral, unchristian, or any number of adjectives that mean less than. They are less than you because what they have done is less than what you would have done. That is what gossip is. However, we also judge the law, specifically the second greatest commandment. And we all know the first: love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And the second is like it, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. When we gossip or slander, we judge that law by saying we are above it. It does not apply to us. Here we are standing on our pedestal, looking down at that love your neighbor law and saying, that doesn't apply to me. I don't have to love my neighbor. I don't have to respect them and not say bad things about them. Gossip is nothing less than our judgment of God's law to love others, and our showing the decision we have made to make the world our true friend instead of God. So the time has come. Time to have the DTR talk. This is an important part of every relationship. Time to define your relationship with God and with the world. If you see that the world is your true friend, James implores you to decide differently. If you see that you want God to be your true friend, but haven't been working hard enough for that, being vulnerable enough, trusting God enough, James implores you to work harder. If you have a true friendship with God, James implores you to keep it up and seek to help others in their true friendships with God. James also implores you to show your decision to have God as your true friend by keeping from gossip, slander, or judgment. After all, as James says, there is but one lawgiver and judge who is able to save and to destroy. So who then are you to judge your neighbor?